Listen to me. If there was a wise man who would ever think of this, they would say in order to be superior to the man, you've got to be the man. For I am the man himself.
What is going on? How you guys all doing tonight on this Friday evening? This is the Club of the Man 1993. This is actually take 2 of this Raw review. I did originally record this last night, but then I was very tired when I recorded the review, and I remember I was stumbling over words. I started talking about other random things, and after recording it and sitting back thinking about it today before I upload it, I'm like, I better redo that review because I'm pretty sure I didn't get my points across and very well talk about this really good Fallout episode from King of the Ring for Raw. So I thought I might as well do it again. Start fresh, make sure I have the right energy, which right now I should, and give it the appropriate time it deserves to be discussed. And we'll talk about everything from top to bottom. From the May 27th, 2024 edition of Raw. It took place in Savannah, Georgia, where Lord's love is growing in the air. Because we got a kiss. Dirty Sanchez got a kiss this past week's episode of Raw. And unfortunately, it was not live on the USA Network. Because if you just watched it, I think you go watch it on the USA Network app, you didn't see what happened right at the very end. You saw the tease, the stare. You didn't see the play of the lips, though. From the woman who claims she's now single and she is not going to take anyone else unless she is blown away. Maybe that blown away person is Dirty Sanchez, Dominik Mysterio. And also, could this have been the final night for Becky Lynch in WWE? Because her contract expires tomorrow. And she posted a photo after the show saying, to be continued. Which I think a lot of people are thinking that she's taking a break. Personally, I will say that. I think it's the case as well. I just feel, though, if she actually was taking a break, though, you don't think that... You think they would have, written her off, a little more brutally. This would have been the show, even though... To not spoil when I get to the turn alert, because I am going to do the turn alert for Liv Morgan turning heel. If you did what you did at the very end of the show, making out with probably the biggest heel in the company, there's no way you're not a heel. For me, though, personally, just think, usually, a full-on heel turn has a big, explosive moment. Yes, don't get me wrong, kissing Dominik Mysterio is probably maybe that moment, but it didn't quite. The fact also that Dominik just still is not acknowledging that him and Liv are a thing makes me feel again that it's not that big explosive moment. Yes, Liv's definitely a heel, but what I was getting at with this though is I still feel like they should have done something physically to Becky if they were going to write her off TV. Because Liv won that main event by escaping the cage. Other than her getting whacked in the face by Dominik Mysterio, who got ran over by the freight train himself, Braun Strowman, I just thought they could have written her off a little more interesting. But it does look like she is going to be gone for a bit. How long that is, I don't know. But we will have to wait and see. As again, tomorrow her deal does expire. As well as some of the other wrestlers from the NXT releases, like Drew Gulak and Scripps and a few others whose contracts are not going to be re-signed, and today is their official last day as a WWE superstar. But again, is this it though for Becky Lynch? I still think not. I do think she will re-sign, but I also think she's going to take a little bit of a break, which she deserves so. But get that out of the way, let's talk about Raw. Again, I thought this was a really good Fallout episode of Monday Night Raw. We have stuff set up for the future as far as the world title picture goes. We have, again, stuff more further on the storyline with Sami Zayn and Chad Gable, who is about to be pulling an MJF on Otis. Also telling Maxine Dupree is Goldilocks and her 3 brain cells. Ugh! We got Braun Breaker dominating. Braun Strowman squashing JD McDonough, who had the balls last week to try to walk up to him and tell him off. And it was hilarious the way that happened. We got, of course, the fallout from King of the Ring with Gunther, who is still... They are playing into the story about that botched finish at King of the Ring, where Randy Orton's shoulders were not actually pinned to the ground. So they're going to be playing into that. We will be getting back to that, I'm pretty sure. Maybe at King of the Ring. And of course, we are on the road to that main event of Clash the Castle between Damian Priest and Drew McIntyre as well. People are wondering, though, if there may be set up for a multi-man match for the World Heavyweight Championship, though, at SummerSlam. Is it possible? It is possible. Oh, we also have the match with Sheamus and Ludwig Kaiser set up for next week on Raw. We'll talk about, of course, Ludwig as well. Also, a possible tease at a breakup of Damage Control. So a lot happened on this episode of Raw. You see why I wanted to redo this and make sure I had the right energy? Good, because we are going to get rolling and we're going to get started. Talking about Raw from Savannah, Georgia. We're going to talk about it and then we'll seal it with a kiss. Because again, that's how the show ended. It was hot! But anyways, getting way ahead of myself. Let's talk about Raw. The show opened up with Ludwig Kaiser in the ring, introducing our new King of the Ring, the Ring General, Gunther, which Gunther does come out holding the crown in his hand. He doesn't actually wear it, he just holds it in his hand. The crowd, though, does start showering him with "We Want Randy" chants. Gunther says, "Yo, I beat Randy Orton. I'm the rightful king of the ring. I'll be getting a title shot at SummerSlam. And it's going to be him who steps up and he became the greatest Intercontinental Champion of all time. And he will, of course, be the greatest king of the ring of all time. Never seen it before. The World Heavyweight title, he believes, lacks prestige. Because the person who holds it won it by taking a shortcut." Referring to Damian Priest cashing in Money in the Bank. Which then it brings out Judgment Days, JD McDonough, Finn Balor, and Le Campeon, Damian Priest. Priest confronts Gunther, congratulates him, but says, "You are nothing. You didn't actually beat Randy Orton. And if he wants to pat on the back, sure, but to take credit for anything but costing Randy a title match is absurd." And yes, he did cash in, but he earned that briefcase in a ladder match. What he did is how it works. He then asks Gunther if he knows how things work around here. He offers to teach him a lesson. But Gunther says he focuses on the facts, and the facts are he is king of the ring, and if Priest is still champion come SummerSlam, he's going to challenge him for the title. In terms of teaching him about business, maybe business ain't his expertise. And he's been waiting for someone in this company to teach him anything. He can't teach Damian about business, but he can teach him about this great sport, because this mat is sacred. I always like when he says that. He loves this sport. He protects the sport with everything he has. So Damian can either respect him now and address him as king, or wait to address him as world heavyweight champion. Priest is like, out of respect, he respects him in the ring and what he did with the Intercontinental title. But as world champion, what can Gunther teach him that he doesn't know already? This then brings out the Scottish Warrior, the #1 contender for Clash of the Castle, Drew McIntyre. Comes out, and of course he's getting the Punk chants. And McIntyre says, CM Punk has been back for 6 months, and the highlight of his return has been him. Anyway, he introduces him, has been him. Basically saying that he's the one keeping Punk relevant. He then introduces himself as the #1 contender, and he says he's going to be champion in less than 3 weeks. Priest says, yo, I'm not looking past you. I just know what's going to happen when they're done. Drew says Damian is spreading himself too thin. Judgment Day are screwing him up left and right, which is true. And ever since Rhea Ripley got hurt, things have gone to hell. He's the only one from the UK to have ever won the world title, and advises him to go watch his match at Clash at the Castle last year, and says he would have won last year if it weren't for Solo Sikoa, and this year it's in Scotland, his country. He also does a little layout about Great Britain and says Damian will be walking into a war zone where the fans will break him mentally and he'll break him physically. Priest is skeptical and asks, yo, is your wife going to be there? What's her name? And then McIntyre's like, back off. And then Damian's like, I was just looking to get under your skin and find out if you'd be man enough to do something about it. And then Braun Strowman comes out, because I guess it was setting up for his match he had with JD McDonough. And yeah, we had the match, and it was a little longer than it probably should have been, but Braun basically squashed JD. I really feel like when Judgment Day do break up, there's a good chance that they may make JD McDonough babyface, because they've made him into like the personal punching bag for the Judgment Day. Like, he, for the most part, takes the bullets, it feels like. But occasionally, they let him shine and have a good match. So I kind of feel like this is being done on purpose just to build some sympathy for JD, so that way he can turn face, but I might just be overthinking it. But Braun beats him with the running power slam. Afterwards, we have Finn Balor and Carlito try to beat down Braun Strowman, but Braun shrugs him off and clears the ring. McDonough goes to attack Strowman from behind with a steel chair, and Braun just no-sells it, and he sends Judgment Day packing. And he basically went chasing after them for the rest of the show, because he came out, of course, at the very end, and unintentionally costed Becky Lynch the world title match she had in the main event. Spoiler alert. Speaking of the champion, the women's world champion, Liv Morgan, was getting ready to pucker up later on in the show. She was backstage being interviewed, having no remorse over how she beat Becky. She claimed she didn't know Dom was going to come out like that, but she's not here to talk about that. She wants to talk about how she's a fighting champion, and she'll defend the title against Becky tonight in a steel cage. Which, by the way, since I didn't mention it before, even though the concept is kind of dead with the fact that nobody can interfere in a steel cage match, it still happens. Does anyone feel like that maybe they should put a stipulation like a steel cage, or maybe like, I don't know if Hell in a Cell would be worthy for the match at Clash of the Castle, but you feel like they have to add some sort of stipulation for that world title match at Clash of the Castle. Because isn't Drew going to be worried that Punk is going to get involved? Because Punk has basically got involved in all Drew's big opportunities. After Drew trashed him at WrestleMania, he cost him the title. He also costed Drew the #1 contenders match for Backlash, and a couple other times too that he's got his skin. You would think that if that's the case, Drew would find some way that Punk can't cost him this match and ruin it for him in Scotland. Just saying. which is why I think I might be adding that stipulation into my predicted match card when I do that. Hopefully this weekend that comes out. But just had to mention that there as well. We have that. We then have Damian Priest telling Finn, go find JD. They have to have a talk. We also get footage of Braun Breaker's recent destruction he's done on Raw. Go back and watch my turn alert on Braun Breaker. Especially, of course, how he just destroyed Kale Dixon last week on Raw. We see Ricochet getting cleared, though, from his attack from Strowman. And Ricochet with Braun. But Pearce says Braun's been suspended. And Ilja Dragunov rolls up, thanks him for pushing him out of the way last week. And as soon as he's healed up, he wants to go. Ricochet's like, well, it's funny enough because I'm cleared. And Ilja says he fights people and breaks them. He doesn't fight broken people, but the one and only, wants a match. And then Pearce is like, fine, you can have a match. So it's a rematch from the King of the Ring tournament between Ilja Dragunov and Ricochet. Which also, by the way, apparently Ricochet's and Chad Gable's contracts are both also set to expire. Why WWE's waiting until the last second to sign some of these guys? I don't know. Maybe just to cause some buzz? Who knows? Because none of these guys, I don't think, are going to be leaving. I don't think. Just my opinion. But he had a match with Ilja Dragunov again. It was another great stiff-hitting match. Motions, Constantine specials, recoils, a lot of great maneuvers in there. Again, Ilja Dragunov already feels like a main event star. Ricochet as well. Like it feels like that he's gotten his groove back as well too, which I also love to see. This is a believable champion I can see Ricochet being. But Dragunov, yes. At some point, they are going to have Dragunov and Gunther have a match. And I like how they're building it up big. Because we know they can pull things off. Of course, though, the match ends in a DQ. Because out of nowhere, Braun Breaker just blasts Ricochet with a spear. And then as he does more of his business, Adam Pearce runs down to the ring and gives Braun hell about it. And Braun decides to walk away as we go to break. And he was yelling at Braun afterwards. And he ends up getting off. And Braun ends up going off with Kiana James, who's just appearing here and there. What that's going to do, I don't know. Spoiler alert, I do think they should do a triple threat match at Clash of the Castle. Braun Breaker, Ilja Dragunov, and Ricochet. That'd be an awesome match. And my opinion is, if Braun Breaker wants opportunity, because he's pissed off about not being in the King of the Ring tournament, why not have that triple threat match be a qualifying match for the Money in the Bank ladder match? And maybe, just to add a little bit of spice to it, add the stipulation, if Braun doesn't win, he's fired. I'd probably talk about that in my turn alert, but just wanted to throw that out there. Triple threat match between those three for something fresh. Get 3 fresh people on pay-per-view. And again, if Braun doesn't win, he's fired. He's the one who's going to be punished the most. The only one who's, not listening to the GM of the 3. And if he wins, he gets his opportunity to win Money in the Bank. Will he win it? I don't know. But again, for more about Braun Breaker as a heel, watch my turn alert, for sure. But that's great stuff there. We also have a vignette of Awesome Truth running an ice cream truck for Memorial Day and the New Day roll up looking for a title shot. And then, of course, the Awesome Truth run away. And then as they run off, Karrion Kross rolls up to play more mind games with Xavier Woods, trying to get him to peel away from Kofi Kingston. And it's something about, when is Kofi ever going to stop latching on the Woods? He retires and whatnot. And it sets up for a tag match with the Authors of Pain and New Day for next week. First, though, Authors of Pain did have a dominating match on the Creed brothers and destroyed them pretty good. I like that. Again, I'm hoping this move to Raw gets things going for the Final Testament and Karrion Kross. You can just tell how he delivers his promos. Karrion Kross is a very artistic guy. He's someone that I do think could easily be a main eventer. Just waiting for him to get that opportunity to shine. Carlito has a promo talking... Rey Mysterio has a promo talking about Carlito. How he hasn't gotten jealous over Dragon Lee. And they'd still be brothers, but tonight he's going to find out what happens when you cross the line of the LWO. Sheamus is walking backstage, getting ready to head out to the ring. He goes out. He asks if we enjoyed King of the Ring. He admits they were all great matches. They were all banger after banger after banger. But sadly, no Sheamus. Because Ludwig Kaiser smashed his knee and took him out. But that's the nature of the game. What he's salty about, though, is that Gunther's glorified coat rack left him sitting at home waiting to get cleared. So he has a little message for Ludwig. And he's back. He's cleared. And he can't wait to get his hands on him. Ludwig then appears on the Titantron and basically starts talking to trash. Sheamus then tells him to shut up, and he goes to look for him. They brawled a little backstage, and they are going to have a match on Raw next week. Cool with me. I do like how even though Ludwig Kaiser is an Imperium, they're still trying to give him that side where he can definitely shine as a single star. I do think within the next year or so, he will be a single star. Because I think Triple H sees a lot in him. And I do too, personally. So I like how he's kind of, still with Imperium, but he's still kind of getting his own singles rubs as well. So I like that. We have a pep talk with Becky Lynch talking with Lyra Valkyria. She has a match then with Kairi Sane, and she beats Kairi with a crucifix pin. Later on, though, Kairi and Dakota go backstage to find Io in the Damage Control's dressing room, and Io just snaps and starts breaking things. So is that kind of a sign of Damage Control breaking up too? Could be. Have to wait and see. We then have also a little bit of a backstage meeting between the Judgment Day. Priest asks where JD is and what Carlito's doing here. And when he asks for the Judgment Day to get it done, it didn't work out. Carlito finds JD on his way out, and JD says he gave Braun a slip. Damian asks if he's trying to step in and take care of this. And then Dominik Mysterio rolls up. Damian asks the others to leave and asks Dom what he's doing. And he says he messed up big time and he better fix it. Tonight, if he doesn't, you wouldn't want to be in his shoes. Dom's in a little trouble there. We also have... then we have the match with Carlito, Rey Mysterio. It was just a match, nothing special. Rey does win with the 619 to his slingshot splash. And afterwards, Rey threw Finn to the announce table and calls Dragon Lee over help. Damian Priest comes out and makes a save. And Carlito spits in Dragon Lee's eye. And then Damian Priest basically just stopped everyone. Set up for a match next with Damian and Rey. I think not for the title, but whatever. Anyways, this is where things got a little juicy here. First, Chad Gable was backstage. He was berating Akira Tozawa for not being in Saudi Arabia and blames him for his loss. Tozawa apologized, but Gable tells him not that. Tells him not to apologize. He's not mad. He's just disappointed. We also see Braun Strowman storming through and searching for JD, and then Maxie and Otis roll up. And Chad again just says, and this is when he said the line to Maxine about Goldilocks and her 3 brain cells. Yow! That's rough. And then he yells at Otis for costing him the match at King and Queen of the Ring. But he's going to give him a chance to redeem himself. He has to do that by beating Bronson Reed. And Otis has a match with Bronson Reed. And Otis was actually closing in on his Caterpillar. But of course, right before he was about to do that, though, Chad Gable tells him, nope, not happening, Otis. And off the distraction, though, Big Bronson Reed wins with a super kick, the senton, and then the tsunami. So then afterwards, though, this is where it really, really juices up. Afterwards, we have Chad Gable yelling at Otis to get back in the ring. Calls the rest of the Academy in. And he wants to take care of things because he's had enough. And he asks Otis what is to be done with him and asks what it'll take to get through to him. He tells Otis he lacks discipline. He's going to show him discipline. He made him do this, and Gable then takes off his belt and orders Otis to grab the ring ropes. And Tozawa and Maxine are ordered to stand there and watch what happens when he brings Shane to the Alpha Academy. And he's about to give Otis them 10 lashes like Cody Rhodes took from MJF. But as soon as Chad winds up, Maxine runs in, grabs the arm, and saves Otis. Of course, Gable wasn't happy about it, saying she's going to cry and tell her to get the hell out of the ring. And he then berates Tozawa. He goes to wind up again to hit Otis. But this time, Sami Zayn comes out. Of course, Maxine's still walking up the ramp, and then Sami checks on her to make sure she's okay. And Sami goes in the ring and asks what Gable's going to do, and calls him a weak little man who has manipulated his way into getting opportunity after opportunity after opportunity, and he's come up short every single time. When he does, he looks for everybody else to blame, but he's got bad news for him. It's only his fault. Gable turns and tells him he doesn't know what he's talking about. And he winds up to hit Otis again, but Sami Zayn grabs his hand and takes the belt off of him. Goes out and takes his title off as well. My page just refreshed on me. Hang on. Oh, there we go. And then Chad hid behind Otis, and Sami asks Otis if he's going to listen to Gable and how much more of this crap he's going to take. Because, of course, he still has a heart for him, even though he knows that Chad's the broken man right now. And he tells Otis, and Sami tells Otis to listen to his heart. And Gable takes matters in his own hands. He shoves Sami down. They start the brawl. And then eventually, though, Otis pulls Gable off of Sami. And then, of course, Sami's like, why are you doing this? And then Gable grabs him and does hit a suplex on him to end the show. Man, like I said, Chad Gable, especially this how rough he is with, verbally he is to Maxine Dupree. And, of course, everybody else not being able to get the job done. He's going kind of desperate. He's a broken man. Again, this heel character didn't have to happen. He could have had his moment as a babyface at WrestleMania. But this story, man, he's this heel now. He's basically somewhat abusive to his classmates, as he calls it and whatnot. And he's just killing it. He is finally getting Kurt Angle chants, Kurt Angle vibes. He actually is finally fulfilling those shoes. I think you do at this point have to put the Intercontinental title belt on Chad Gable. It's definitely time for him to do so. He has done, again, he did not need to do this heel turn. But he has put the work into it, and he is just, in my opinion, one of the best parts of Raw. I really, really enjoy this stuff they're doing with Otis. And Chad Gable. Eventually, Otis is going to get over. Otis is going to be a big baby face again. Can I say this, though? With them still rumoring to have Gable's new group, which I think will be revealed the next time Otis gets an Intercontinental title shot. I'm sorry, keep saying Otis. Next time Gable gets an Intercontinental title shot. Is anybody else kind of hoping they bring back Tucker Knight and reunite Heavy Machinery? Heavy Machinery versus the Creed brothers. Man, that'd be a lot of history there or whatnot. So, I like that. Again, probably one of my favorite parts of Raw for sure was that. Shayna Baszler and Zoe Stark were backstage talking when Sonya Deville rolls up again and basically still wants to do business with them. And they walk away. And, they still think about it. They also see Alba Fire and Isla Dawn, who give them grief about saying they've beaten everybody. Well, the number one contenders at this time they haven't beaten them, though, because they barely wrestle on the show. But of course, they may try to get him on the show because both of them are Scottish. Kaylee Ray and Isla Dawn. Or Alba Fire and Isla Dawn. You know, they could change the names back. And then the main event. Becky Lynch and Liv Morgan for the women's world title inside a steel cage. Match I thought was really good. Good use of the cage. Of course, things got smoking interesting when Dominik Mysterio came out towards the end. And he unlocked the door, and he's trying to help Becky. But Finn and JD come out, and there's this, like, what are you trying to achieve? And then Braun Strowman, who finally found JD, comes running out and chasing him around the ring. In the process, he runs into Dom. Dom then runs into the door, and the door slams in Becky's face. And then Liv Morgan took advantage, crawled out, and she retained. And then, of course, after the match, as we walked up the ramp, after the USA Network turned off the air, but of course it was still shown on those at the app, Liv Morgan made out with Dominik Mysterio. And I'm not going to lie, it's kind of hot. But, again, Dom is still, like, not admitting that he's actually secretly working with Liv. But, again, at this point, it's very, very obvious that she's a heel. Again, how do you make out with the biggest heel like she did and not be a villain? She's a villain now, which is why, again, we can do that turn alert. But, of course, again, this is also could have been Becky Lynch's last match in WWE for a bit. Again, will she leave? I don't think so. But I think she is at least going to take a little bit of a break, if I'm being honest. But yeah, that's Raw. I got my thoughts in. This was probably about 5-10 minutes longer than my other one was, that I was half out of it. I think I got my points across very well. I gave the show a B+. Again, really good stuff. Again, I like how, again, they're trying to keep Damian Priest relevant. Because I feel like him telling the story, he's trying to prove he's not a transitional champion, is something that could lead to him going babyface eventually, when him and the Judgment Day do split up. I still think it's going to be Drew, though, win the belt at Clash of the Castle. Just my opinion. Just a bunch of good stuff. I'm very intrigued to see how it happens with the card with Clash of the Castle. And we'll go from there. So, guys, that does it. A B+ for Raw. What are your guys' thoughts on Raw from this past week? Leave your guys' thoughts down in the comment section below. Be sure also, as always, to slap a like on the video and subscribe for more content on my channel. Follow me on Twitter as well at the Club of the Man 93. You may also follow me on TikTok and Instagram at the Club of the Man 1993. Until then, guys, I'm checking out. I'll catch y'all later. And do not forget, in order to be superior to the man, you've got to be the man. And for I am the man himself. And that is not just an opinion, my friends. That is a fact of life. Yeah!